Okay, so we got a listener question this week about Agent X
Oh, yeah.
on Pastor Paul's YouTube show,
Right.
and it got us thinking about this whole idea of like online personas and how do we figure out who's real, who's
Yeah, it's
not?
like a deep dive in and of itself, right? Like, are we looking at sort of a character that's been constructed, or are we looking at a real person? And the question itself is fascinating to me.
Yeah, and this one in particular like made me think of you remember Mike from Around the World?
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, that was like the case study, right? In sort of online persona creation.
Right, exactly. And so I'm curious to sort of like break this down with you and see if we can figure out anything about Agent X just from the question itself.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's a challenge, right? Because we don't have a lot to go on, but I think there are some interesting threads to pull on here.
Yeah, yeah. So let's start with like, just the basic idea here that listener wants to know, is Agent X real?
Right.
Okay, so what does that tell us?
Well, I mean, right off the bat, it tells us that there's something about Agent X that's raising some red flags for this listener, right? Like there's something that's making them question whether this is a genuine person or maybe something a little more manufactured.
Right. And it makes you wonder like is it the things Agent X is saying? Is it the way they're presenting themselves? What is it that's triggering this kind of suspicion?
Yeah, and I think to get at that, we have to think about sort of the broader context here, right? Like we're looking at this world where online personalities are everywhere,
Right.
and the lines between what's real and what's not are getting blurrier and blurrier all the time.
Totally, yeah. You've got, people who are putting on a character for entertainment purposes, and then you've got, people who are maybe trying to protect their privacy by using a pseudonym.
Exactly. And then you've got everything in between, right? Like people who are maybe exaggerating certain aspects of themselves or curating their online image very carefully.
Right. It's like everyone's become a brand.
In a way, yeah. And so when we encounter someone like Agent X on a show like Pastor Paul's, it's natural to kind of have our antennae up a little bit, right? Like
Yeah.
we're trying to assess like, okay, is this person being genuine? Are they being truthful? What's the agenda here?
Right. And the fact that the listener is even asking this question, like are they real or are they like Mike from Around the World?
Right?
It suggests that they're picking up on something. It's like they're seeing some parallels there.
Totally. And I think it's a testament to this listener's media literacy. Like they're not just passively consuming this content. They're actually engaging with it
Hmm.
critically.
Right, they're thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're asking these tough questions about authenticity and what's real.
Yeah, and it's so interesting too because like you said, there could be a lot of different reasons why someone might create a persona like Agent X. It's not necessarily malicious. It could be for privacy reasons or, maybe they're just trying to tell a good story and they think this character will resonate with the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that all the time, right? In storytelling and entertainment. Creating these characters that are larger than life or that have a certain mystique about them.
Right, right. And so without knowing more about Agent X specifically, it's impossible to say for sure what's going on.
Yeah, I mean we're really just speculating based on the question itself.
Right, exactly. But but I think the question itself tells us a lot about how we're all engaging with online content these days.
Absolutely.
We're all kind of becoming amateur detectives in a way,
Right.
looking for clues, trying to figure out who's real, who's not, what's the motivation behind the persona.
Yeah, it's like we're all playing this game of online authenticity bingo. Looking for those telltale signs.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because it makes you wonder like what is it about our culture that makes us so invested in this question of authenticity? You know?
That's a really good question.
Like why do we care so much about knowing whether someone is being real or not online?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of factors at play there, right? Like there's this desire for connection and wanting to know that the people we're interacting with are genuine.
Right.
But there's also this sense of distrust that's kind of pervasive online. Like we're all aware that people can misrepresent themselves or create these fake personas.
Totally. And maybe it's also about like wanting to have control over the information that we're consuming. Like if we can figure out who's real and who's not, then we can kind of decide what to believe and what to dismiss.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it too, this idea of like wanting to be in the know, wanting to be able to see through the smoke and mirrors.
Right, right. So I guess the takeaway here is that the question of whether Agent X is real or not is a really interesting one, and it's one that we can't definitively answer without more information.
Right.
But it's a question that I think all of us are grappling with in some way or another as we navigate this increasingly complex online world.
Totally. And I think it's a conversation that we need to keep having. Like, how do we determine authenticity online?
Right.
What are the cues that we're looking for? And how do we deal with this blurring of the lines between what's real and what's not?
Right. And I think for you, the listener out there, like this is something to think about. The next time you're scrolling through your feed or watching a YouTube video,
Right.
like ask yourself, what is it about this person that makes me think they're real or not real? And what does that say about me and how I'm engaging with online content?
Yeah, and what does it say about our culture, right? Like, why are we so obsessed with this idea of authenticity?
It's a good question to ponder. Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.